lately we've been covering a lot of transphobes, and their very stupid arguments. And their arguments are, of course, very much based in feeling. And they have to find very clever, not so clever, rhetorical strategies to make their arguments sound like they're not just feelings-based opinions that fly in the face of reality. And because of that, over time, people break out of transphobia. Transphobia, particularly for younger people online, is a very temporary state of opinion. It's just gonna only take so long before somebody runs into a trans person online who corrects their falsely held beliefs, or they just end up doing the research on their own or being exposed to the science on their own and realize they were wrong. It's just pretty uncommon for people to be, like, longtime transphobes unless they're, like, paid shills, right? Or they're, like, boomers who are set in their ways and watch Fox News all day. With that said, it means that conservatives who want to push transphobic rhetoric are having a really hard time lending credence to their beliefs beyond the surface level. People start questioning transphobia, and it falls apart. Because if you start questioning transphobia, you might start researching the, science and realize you're wrong. And it's a big part of why the Gamergate era of the internet fell apart. But now, we're in a new era of that sort of conservative cultural domination being pushed by a whole new batch of Zoomers who had no political inclinations back during Gamergate, now going through that same arc that those before them did. It's a cycle, right? And because of that, the right needs a better method of radicalizing people and making them believe that there's actual science to back up conservative opinions about trans people. We just went over a really good segment that kind of acts as a good example of this, but we're going to go over an even better example of this. You see, there's no science or studies that back up transphobia. When you debate a transphobe, and they try to supply any studies or data that back up anything they have to believe, that they believe, if you fact check it on the fly, you will find out one of two things. More commonly than not, if it was an actual study, like a legit medical study, it does not say what they say it does. To the extent that if you read the conclusion of the study they sent you, the author of said study has a conclusion different from the person who is trying to use it as evidence for their opinion. Or two, it is a study that has been retracted and rejected because the way that it was conducted was not scientifically proper. It did not follow the proper scientific method. And today we're going to talk about an example that falls into the second category. You see, this person named Michael Bailey, who's I guess a transphobic science guy who's grifting for the right, tried to submit a study, or an article I should say, a scientific article on a medical board, trying to claim that he had data that showed that rapid onset gender dysphoria is real. Rapid onset gender dysphoria being this conspiracy theory these people have made up that being trans is a social contagion that spreads to other people through exposure to trans people. And I assure you it does not exist. If it did exist, then all of the memes about you guys calling me an egg would be true, because most of my friend group are trans people. And I don't even say that in like the, haha, I've got so many trans friends way. It's like just straight up, like, most of my friends are trans of some kind. And if there was some level of social contagion or social pressure that being friends with trans people or being around trans people offered, then I would have felt it by now. But I don't. Like, beyond jokes about being an egg, which are very clearly jokes, even when you guys clearly would like for me, like, I have no doubt you guys would literally go apeshit happy if I, like, announced that I was trans one day. But when you say that I'm an egg, you guys are obviously joking. I know that you're joking. It's in a sort of semi-serious, like, but-if way, but I know that you guys aren't being 100% serious. You guys are joking. And even then, I don't feel, like, weird social pressure. So, inherently, I know that this isn't a real thing, but a lot of conservatives and a lot of people susceptible to conservative ideology may be prone to believing that. And that is why this study, or not a study, sorry, I keep saying study, this article could have had a pretty potentially dangerous effect. The article, now retracted, goes as follows. Rapid onset gender dysphoria, parent reports on 1,655 possible cases. Now, those of you guys who paid real close attention to the title there would already know what the big problem with this study was off the bat that got it retracted and seen as not scientifically accurate. But I'll go ahead and break it down for you. Rapid onset gender dysphoria, parent reports. So, every single study, quote unquote, which ends up being a survey in reality, and we'll get into it in a minute. There's been ones like this before. This is not the first time this has happened. Every single survey that attempts to try to prove that rapid onset gender dysphoria is real does one or both of these two things. And in this case, it did both. It either A, exclusively polls the parents of potentially trans kids. And when I say potentially trans, this means kids who are trans and kids who have parents who are transphobic, but those kids are friends with trans people, but they themselves aren't trans. That is the group that is being polled. And B, or 2, I don't remember if I was doing numerical or letter-based. B, it was polling through a site biased in favor of transphobia. In this example, which I'll get into in a minute, this is also the case, but in one of the more popular examples that has been talked about a lot by transphobes, and I've had transphobes try to use against me, but very quickly get shot down, there was a survey done by Mumsnet. That's right, thank you, Sophie, you know. A TERF website called Mumsnet. You can probably tell by the fact it's mums that it's a mom website based in the UK for TERF moms, like middle-aged TERF moms. Very British, very TERFy. You guys basically know what I'm talking about, like the vibe of that site, right? And they ran a survey to try to prove with parents on the site that, you know, rapid onset gender dysphoria is real. The problem is, you're running a survey on a site for transphobic parents about whether or not they think their kids are transphobic because of a transphobic conspiracy theory. And of course, this article and the data that it collected did the exact same thing. And for that reason, it was rejected and has been taken down and marked as not scientifically sound. And Michael Bailey, as well as those who support him because he is a political figure and not a scientist, are losing their f***ing minds over it because they really thought they were going to be able to have one published medical article that backed up the idea that being trans is a bad social contagion. But they couldn't pull it off. Unfortunately, contradictory to what these people say, the standards of scientific research and data collection are a lot higher than they think. And these idiots aren't very good at creating psyops. So the psyop got shot down and rejected. And I couldn't be more happy to see it. Look at that. Retracted article. Rapid onset gender dysphoria. Parent reports on 1,655 possible cases. Damn, dude, you tried. You tried to pull some shit. You tried to be able to have a PubMed article that you could link that backs up your shit, and they took your shit down. This is literally the equivalent of trying to win an argument. Basically, what they tried to do here is the equivalent of trying to win an argument by writing your own definition for a word on Urban Dictionary and then linking your friend that definition you wrote to try to prove the argument. But then Urban Dictionary takes down your definition because they know what you're trying to do, and you get mad about it. That's basically the equivalent of what happened here. Oh, of course, you're completely right about this, Olivia the OK. Any form of scientific rigor that exists around trans rights, the scientific community being correct about trans people, is going to set off the right. In the end, the right does not base their opinion on trans people around facts. They base it around their opinion. They are willing to meet whatever necessary means they have to, if it means pushing transphobia and achieving maximum, as they say on as they say on 4chan, maximum T-slur death. It's whatever they can do to maximize that, right? It's a matter of trying to go at it at every angle. That's what they're trying to do. And here they tried to have something that would seem to the naked eye at first glance like it had some merit to it, that like a transphobe could actually use it for their arguments. And now it's fallen through and it's not going to work. But of course they'll claim they've been censored. They'll claim that they are the victims of scientific censorship. But unfortunately, reality just has a liberal bias, and it always has.